Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve. And as you know, Biden's inflation issues, unfortunately, may not be just because of poor economic planning. It's also, if you can believe it, it's going to end up lining BlackRock's pockets. Now, of course, you know the increasing struggle to stay protected against inflation, the destabilization of jobs and the economy as a whole is a constant concern for most Americans. I mean, have you seen the price of eggs recently? You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Skyrocketing prices, stagnant wages, and diminishing savings. They're seemingly here to stay, at least for now. But you know that Biden and his cronies, they pretend to be clueless to the root causes of all this. As the purchasing power of our hard earned money is eroding each and every day, we're obviously desperate to get answers. All while Biden and his surrogates and legacy media tattle about acting like this is the best economy in ages. Yeah, right. But their innocent plan has backfired. A recent article from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York exposed the Biden inflation plan by uncovering how, quote, those industries with higher inflation are actually able to increase profits more than industries with lower inflation, even when profits themselves aren't increasing. So that means by hiking inflation, big corporations get higher payouts, meaning companies like BlackRock, who we know Biden is deeply entwined with, make more money the more inflation goes up. So Biden is actually incentivized to keep the economy in turmoil because it helps out his WEF buddies. It lines their pockets, probably his too. It makes more people more reliant on the government, and it certainly doesn't help out the little guy. Given that it's unlikely inflation will go down anytime soon, the obvious question is, what does this all mean for us? What can we do to be courageous patriots here, be proactive rather than reactive about all this? Here to discuss surviving Biden's economy is financial education expert Michael Lush, founder of Replace Your University and host of the Create Your Own Economy event, which is actually coming up this April 15th. That's an apt date, April 15th. Find out more just by clicking on the description below to register. Welcome back, Michael. Great to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I couldn't help but chuckle, especially during the eggs comment, because I've got 3 cartons of eggs here. My son, who we homeschool, comes to my office twice a week, and we have a farm, so he brings eggs in, organic eggs, and sells them to my coworkers here. And
I,
sell
I
them for
love it.
$7 a dozen. Right? That may
I
sound
love it.
expensive, but it's actually a good deal versus going to the grocery store. And yeah, he's making some good money. Heck, 3 years ago he could have sold those for $4, and it still would have been a good deal.
That's right. Well, you're training a young entrepreneur there. I love it. I'll see him on Shark Tank one day, I'm sure. Well, let's dive into this here. I mean, Jerome Powell, chair of the Federal Reserve, he believes he's provided a soft landing and has conquered inflation as we know it, and he wants that to be his legacy as he leaves the Federal Reserve later this year.
Mhm.
Many are concerned that he will not be lowering interest rates before the election, and that could cause an economic event or downturn. I mean, what are your thoughts on all this? And do you have any advice? I mean, this is really, I know a lot of people are watching this and they just want to know what to do here. Do you have any advice for our audience on ways to prepare for this potential situation?
Yeah, lots of advice, more advice than we have time to share, but it's all about the power of positioning and how we use what we call the buried treasure detection system to help our clients get access to their money that's in their home. And not
Mm,
just in their home, how to, believe it or not, it's a lot easier right now to get business lines of credit than it is to get home equity lines of credit. So, how can
mm,
you start an LLC for $300 and get access to capital, very cheap capital, sometimes 0% for 12 to 24 months? So I'm going to expand into the power of liquidity, especially in an economic downturn. Number one, in an economic downturn, everything is on sale. That's where your millionaires become billionaires. That's where, the upper echelon, upper hundreds of thousands of net worth become millionaires. It's always during an economic downturn when they double, triple, quadruple their net worth. It's because everything is going on sale. They're buying
yeah.
low and they ride it back up when the economy roars back. Now, the second point to that is you have to prepare your liquidity. So you've got to get a safety net. So businesses and people fail because they run out of cash. It's not
Mhm.
because of interest rates. So what we're going to do in this event is show folks how even in a downturn, and even more specifically in a downturn, that it's actually exciting if you're prepared, because that's when everything goes on sale and you can get steep discounts. So it's a massive opportunity. So we're going to show folks the buried treasure detection system of how to get liquid and to prepare to buy cash flow producing assets on sale.
It's yeah. I mean, I'm almost hearing Warren Buffett, right? The Oracle of Omaha. He loves it when the market goes down. He's like, all right, I'm going to get all these wonderful deals, all these discounts, and then the
Blood on
market goes back up, and boom, look, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing advice. So what I like about this, in effect, what you're saying, if I'm getting it right, is regardless of who's elected in November, we're all pushing for Trump, of course, but even,
Mhm.
they could pull all the shenanigans of 2020 again. We all know that. So,
Mhm.
regardless of who's elected in November, we are on the precipice of a potential economic event.
Mhm.
That event could be inflationary, it could be deflationary, with factors like the election, with rate cuts, or lack thereof. I mean, the craziness, the foreign policy, war, tax cuts ending. That's a Trump's tax cuts are coming close to an end here, and
Mhm.
more. So, what are some of the ways that our listeners can financially protect themselves for any potential outcome? That's what
Yeah.
I. That's part. That's what your advice I crave, because this is what you specialize in.
Yeah. I'm kind of going to go off script here and talk about something that you and I haven't talked about before. And I don't want to tease the audience. This is I won't go great into detail because this will be for a whole nother episode. But key terms here that I think people should pay attention to is Article 8 and Article 9, parts of Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code. This was something that isn't recent, but was adopted right in the last meltdown around 2006, 2008. And essentially, what it is it's giving creditors a priority over some of the assets. So let me speak in a layman's term, because there's key terms here called entitlement holders. So think about mortgages, and I promise I won't get long winded on this, and I will answer your question. Mortgages, everybody's refinanced, especially 3 years ago. And usually, by the time you refinance, you get to the closing table, you notice that your mortgage has been sold somewhere else, right? That's called a
Mhm.
mortgage backed security. So these lenders and creditors that are offering mortgages are selling that. They're pulling these mortgages together into what's called an MBS, a mortgage-backed security, and then selling that on the secondary market. And it's bought and sold multiple times with investors. Long story short is you read through Article 8 and Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code is these investors that are buying up these MBS have claim to your home.
Hmm.
So should these creditors and lenders become insolvent, which they are in droves right
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
you don't own anything.
Wow.
They can take it regardless of your equity position. Now, again, we're on the precipice of researching this. We'll have more confirmation in a couple of weeks. We'll obviously be talking about this in great detail at the event as well. But converse to that, what we are obviously huge advocates of is home equity lines of credit and converting your mortgage to a home equity line of credit. Now, as you already know, but maybe your audience doesn't, a home equity line of credit is an asset that sits on the bank's balance sheet. It is not bought and sold on the secondary market. So this could be one defense mechanism against something like that in the future. Now, let me
Mhm.
get and actually answer your question now that I've teased that up for
Yeah.
everybody. Is
Sounds
other
cool.
than liquidity, I highly suggest taking a look at three other areas. One being cost of your debt, two being cash flow opportunities, and three, a tax strategy. So,
Okay.
cost of debt. Utilize lines of credit to significantly reduce the cost of money that you have borrowed. And now you're putting time and money back in your pocket, right? So, we've got to focus on there are alternatives to financing real estate, and it does
Mhm.
not have to be a mortgage. It could be a
Right.
home equity line of credit. It could be a business line of credit, et cetera. So, we need to focus on how much that debt is actually costing us over 5, 10, 15, 30 years and how to
Mhm.
massively reduce that. Number two is cash flow opportunities. So we suggest investing in things like real estate. It could be the equities market. It could be other inflation corrected assets that can offer cash flow while it's building value over time. And then
Mhm.
the last one being tax strategy. So with investing in assets, as I just mentioned, as well as utilizing our replace your retirement strategy, it is vital that you stop overpaying Uncle Sam, and
Right.
more than your fair share at least, and start building your own legacy that is not reactive to the economic climate that we is continues to be in flux. So, again, in conclusion, it's manage debt better, acquire
Right.
cash flow assets, and work on a tax strategy.
Right. Right. I love it. Yeah. So right. Right. It's sort of like accumulating money, growing your money, and then keeping your money. Right. Yeah, kind of there. That's boom, boom, boom. I love it. And that's exactly the kind of strategies that you're going to be covering in the virtual event coming up on the 15th.
Yep.
Where you're taking a deep dive into all of this. And gang, if you're interested, just click on the link below, find out more information, and to register. It's a virtual event, as I understand it, right? So you
Yeah.
don't have to leave the comfort of your own couch. Just check out Michael just from the comfort of your own home on the 15th. Click on the link below to register. Can you just, I mean, could you give us a little bit of I mean, you've already teased a bit there. Can you give us a little bit more about what the event involves?
Yeah, so for 5 days, we're going to go over, and when I say 5 days, not 5 full days, it's 1 hour each night. So after work, log on. We're going to spend an hour going over each topic, and there's 5 topics, and that's why there's 5 nights. And we're also going to stay over after that hour for another hour and answer any questions that you may have, any misconceptions, false preconditions of what you think the your finances should look like, and what some of the so-called financial entertainers are telling you to do. So let me break down what those 5 nights will look like. So one is we're going to talk about the buried treasure detection system. There's a lot of buried treasure in our own backyard, and there's access to some very cheap capital. So we're going to show you how to find and access that liquidity. Number
Low
two,
hanging fruit, as it were. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we talk about this all the time. If you could lend me money, let's say at 2%, how much of it would I want? And my
Right.
answer is billions, trillions,
Right.
right? I mean, heck, I could put that in a high yield savings account and triple my money. So
Right.
it's indefinite. So getting access to cheap cost of funds, and that's what we call the
Right.
buried treasure detection system. Number two would be the cash flow system. So you need to reroute where your cash is actually going. Our income and our cash flow is our greatest asset of building wealth. So we need to move our money in and through accounts that are better for us as the consumer, and not necessarily only best for the lenders and creditors and the banks. Number three is what we
Can I
call
interrupt that just real quick? Just when Trump got, just reminds me of when Trump got his bond lowered from the, what was it, 460 mil down to 175 mil. Remember that one reporter just kind of was being a smart aleck. So, what are you going to use for collateral for paying this off? And Trump turned around and said, "Cash."
yes,
And I just
yes.
couldn't help it. Right when you think, I mean, that's it. Cash flow is king for
Mhm.
wealth building. I love it. So
And
keep
he gets a
going.
lot of criticism.
That came to mind.
He gets a lot of criticism, especially when it was the $460 million numbers. Like, what are you going to do? And they think, well, you're a so-called billionaire. Why don't you have billions in cash? Billionaires don't have
Right.
billions of dollars in cash just sitting
Right.
around. Look,
Right. Foreign
Elon Musk,
assets.
one of the richest men in history, took on bank debt to acquire
Yeah.
Twitter, now
Right.
X.
Right.
So,
Right.
no, they want their money velocified. They need it in a system where it's growing. And sometimes that doesn't mean it's readily liquid to them because they
Right.
understand money. So, back to this is the third part. In
Good
the third
point. Yeah.
part, we're going to talk about the debt ninja system, how to reduce cost of funds borrowed, driving the debt down, and also driving down the time. So, our average client, we've got 8,000 plus clients. They're paying their homes off on average of 5 to 7 years, where the average American, 99% of Americans are consuming the what I call the traditional mortgage, the modern
Yeah.
day mortgage. Mortgages
Yeah.
didn't always used to look like this. They're not
Right.
even getting it done in 30 years
Right.
because they're
Right.
refinancing and
They're
starting to.
refinancing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then number four is the asset acquisition method. So obtaining inflation corrected assets to grow passive cash flow and build that net worth. And then the last part, which is honestly my favorite, even though I'm not the expert on it, I'm the expert on the debt side, is bulletproofing this entire system. So insulating it. We call it the Bulletproof Financial Blueprint. So it's how to build a legacy through your retirement and tax strategy and estate planning that you can no longer have that rug pulled out from underneath you. I've got a buddy that was a former FBI agent, and it was during COVID. We we're thinking about having a retirement party, and he came over to have some hamburgers and hot dogs. And I was like, all right, so when's this retirement party? He's like, man, I think I might have to stick in there for a couple more years. I was like, you got to be kidding me. He's like, no, look at what the market did. It tanked. So in order for that to rebound, I'm just going to have to stick around because it's not enough for me to retire on. So what can we do to insulate ourselves from these external economic
Mm.
factors that, regardless of what the market does, our assets continue to increase and pay out cash flow, right? Regardless of what
Right.
does. So, we look at, last 3 days, the market went down. It's, looking solid today. That's great. I need to look at it because I need to understand what's going on in the economy, understand what's going on with interest rates, and understand what's going on with debt. But me personally, I'm not affected by that. My net
Mhm.
worth is going to incrementally increase. Some years it's way better than others, but it
Mhm.
never goes down. I'm not getting that
Mhm.
rug out from underneath me like I did in 2008. So again, that's encompassing what we call the Bulletproof Financial Blueprint, and we're going to spend 5 nights explaining all of it in great detail.
Actually, I actually wouldn't mind just diving a little bit more into that
Yeah.
bulletproof financial blueprint. That sounds amazing. But gang, if you don't know, I've actually sat in on Michael's teachings before in Franklin, Tennessee. Actually, it was quite wonderful. They're awesome. I'm serious. They're literally life transformative. You're gonna love it. So just click on the link below, secure your own ticket to the Create Your Own Economy Live event, April 15th. You're gonna absolutely love it. It's an awesome event for building a parallel economy in your own life. So, do you mind? Can we circle back, Saki, as it were, to that bulletproof financial blueprint and thriving in any economic or geopolitical landscape, as you described it? So, I have to be honest, and this is just my own. I guess I look up, I see a cloud, and I think it's the sky. That pessimism in that sense. It's hard for me to detach my sense of financial future from just this basically burn it all down administration that we're seeing in DC, right? Can you walk us through just the overview or the process that you'll be teaching in this in the event on the 15th about a bulletproof financial blueprint?
Yeah, so a big part of it is what we call mirroring. And a lot of folks don't understand this and don't realize that this is capable. But mirroring is having the same dollar. We're not talking about multiple dollars. We're talking about the same dollar, not only being used to reduce the amount of interest that you pay. As the old saying goes, money saved is money earned, or a penny
Mm.
saved is a penny earned, right? So that same dollar is not just reducing your debt and reducing the amount of interest you pay to these banksters, but it can also be in a separate place at the same time earning interest. So that's
Right.
called mirroring.
Mirroring. Okay.
Yes. And we get very specific on this. Nothing too high level. I promise you, when we get into the math, it's nothing greater than third grade math.
I
Um,
remember you talking about this before. I may have been in Franklin. This is really interesting stuff. Sorry, go on. Go on. This
yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah. And so, how to shield that, get it into, because a lot of people are getting into these government qualified plans, 401ks. And I'm not saying throw them all out. I mean, if your company matches 3%, okay, that's a 100% rate of
Yeah,
return.
right.
Absolutely get in. That's free money, right? But above and beyond that, these IRAs and things like that, those are government qualified plans, and they are tax deferred, which you've already somewhat addressed this, right? I mean, our national deficit continues to skyrocket, and there's no sign that it's ever going to be corrected.
Right.
So the Treasury has to try to balance this one way or the other. And one of the ways that they're going to do it is they're going to increase our tax rates. I would bet everything in the farm that our tax rates are going to go up, right?
Right.
Because they have to adjust for this. How's this debt going to get paid off? Us, me and you, the
Right.
average Americans. We're
Right.
the ones that are stuck with this burden. So if we know that tax rates are going to go up, then why are we getting into qualified plans that defer the taxation at a later date? Trump had a great opportunity for a lot of us where he lowered the tax rates. So why don't we get into vehicles where we may pay taxes on those dollars now?
Now,
We
right.
put them in vehicles where there's 4 tax codes that eliminate some of these vehicles from ever being taxed again.
Right.
That is, in my
Right.
opinion, a much wiser option.
Right. So fascinating, gang. I mean, I geek out on this stuff. This is amazing stuff. I mean, the parallel economy is rising, whether Biden likes it or not. Genie's out of the bottle, and you are listening. You're at the forefront right now of a fellow who's one of the frontier innovators who's actively building a parallel economy that doesn't just survive through Biden's economy, but actually thrives in it. And that's Michael Lush, of course. So don't wait for the economy to get better before you decide to get better, right? Click on the link in the description below, grab a ticket to this amazing virtual event. Create your own economy live. Virtual event starts Monday, April 15th. I believe it's 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. Again, I've sat through some of Michael's teachings. They're amazing. You will not be disappointed. Click on that link below right now and let Michael's team get you on the fast track to replacing the way you've been taught to think about money in the past and the mindset that you had, and instead learn to build a lasting legacy that your family deserves. Michael, I always love your events. They're amazing. I can't wait for this one. It's so awesome. Let's stay in touch, and thank you for all that you do. The 15th, we're looking forward to it. Yeah, you bet, man. Can't wait for it. God bless.